thank you so much for being here to talk about an issue that is certainly, again, on the very front burners of the U.S. discussion. And yet here in Utah, it continues to be something extremely important to us. Basically, the U.S. immigration system is broken. And it's broken to a point that it affects us economically. And when we talk about the effect of it economically here in the state of Utah, we continue to grow. We see some phenomenal numbers that come in about unemployment, and yet we still have some concerns that we need to take into account. As we look at what is happening across the entire state of Utah, it is literally duplicated, not only here, but across the entire country. So many times, the people who are concerned with what's going on in immigration think that we're only talking about people that possibly have come from Mexico or here to work as migrant workers or are very low skilled labor. That's not all that we're talking about. They also have a very important function. But let me tell you, they also have an impact of a lot of other people who are coming into this country to be educated and unfortunately cannot even stay. Just this last week, the United States opened up the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, their latest applications for H-1B visas. Within 5 days, they were all gone. In 5 days, they were all gone. 4 years ago in the state of Utah, we needed to have, according to Workforce Services then, about 1,800 engineers in the state of Utah. 1,800 engineers. People said, well, Lane, that was 4 years ago. Just yesterday, I was in Utah County at a business in Utah County that was with the governor of the state of Utah, with one of our other business leaders. And we sat at a table and listened to one of the concerns that this business has, a company out of Canada that is growing in Utah because of the oil fields. They're called Profire. And they said one of the greatest concerns in the state of Utah today is can they get all of the engineers that they need to get to employ to support the technology that they have within just their business alone. A great opportunity. That is repeated, I guarantee you, by every person that is going to talk to you today. Businesses that come in, why are they here? Because of our employees. What are their concerns? Their employees. Because the reality is that so many of our high-tech jobs, we cannot even allow the people who have been educated here to stay here. That means that affects Utah companies that would grow here if they had that additional support. Those are across the entire spectrum of the need that we have. Now let me tell you why I am so concerned about this, and a little different than what I normally say. As most of you know, I'm fairly positive about people that I try to speak about. I am personally extremely disappointed in our two senators. For them to come out and acknowledge that they think we need more time is absolutely ridiculous to me. I don't know of an issue that has had more time, more discussion, more promises, more disappointment than immigration. For one of our senators who literally led immigration reform in the U.S. Senate years ago to be able to say we need to slow the system down, let me tell you that's not what we need to do. We do not, under any circumstance, need to slow down immigration in the United States. We need to act. And we need to have people that are statesmen that will step up and make things happen. It is what is driving the economy of the United States. It is what is driving small businesses in the United States. It is what is driving large and medium-sized businesses. And when you have people that have literally looked at these issues now for years to stand up and say, well, we think maybe we need to slow this process down. Good night. Maybe it's time for us to recall and to be able to get some people who understand what we need in business. Because from businesses, we need some immigration changes that are on the streets and that are working, and we need it today. Let me then just turn the time to the others, then I'll step back up at the end.
As Lane mentioned, my name is Val Hale, President and CEO of the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I want to just reiterate some things that Lane mentioned, specifically regarding attracting and keeping the best and brightest here in America. We need to have the smartest, the best, the brightest running our companies and working for our companies. As he mentioned, on April 1st, the H-1B visas, the applications were taken for that, and within 5 days, the allotment of 65,000 visas was filled. I noticed in the newspaper this morning there was a story on this, and there were 124,000 applicants for those visas. Now, if a person was unlucky enough to receive one of those visas, they get to wait until October 1st, 2014 to apply again. So that's almost a year and a half. And so that's not attracting the best and brightest. It's a failing cap system that's been in place for over 2 decades, and it needs to be reformed. And then on top of that, on the same day that we began accepting applications for H-1B visas, Canada announced and implemented a new entrepreneur's visa. So Canada is going to be ahead of the game in that regard. And it's something that we need to take a serious look at. A recent study by the conservative American Enterprise Institute and the Bipartisan Partnership for a New American Economy found that from 2000 to 2007, each foreign-born worker with an advanced degree from a U.S. institution, a U.S. university, who stayed in this country to work in the STEM fields, that's science, technology, engineering, and math, they created on average 2.62 additional jobs for American workers. So for those who say, well, why do we want to attract these foreign workers or keep foreign workers here? It's just going to take jobs from Americans. That's not true. It actually creates jobs for Americans. They bring new technologies, new products, new companies, and innovation to our economy. As Lane mentioned, in Utah Valley, we have literally hundreds of jobs in the technology field that are unfilled right now. Our CEOs of the companies down there, their biggest concern is finding and attracting talented, skilled people, especially engineers, people in the computer sciences. They can't find enough coming from our university to fill those jobs. They have to find someone to help them stay on top and move forward and be the best. And so this is one of the solutions. So it's vital that any immigration reform makes it easier for these high-skilled immigrants to stay in the United States in order to remain economically competitive in a global economy. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Stan Parrish, as Lane said, from the Sandy Area Chamber of Commerce. First of all, I'd like to thank Lane for bringing us all together. The other is it's great to be here with my colleagues, and I think this is a show of force. When we have chambers from Logan to St. George represented, that's a strong statement from the business community of how we really feel about this issue. Immigration is an issue that's very sensitive. It touches lives. We talk about people. But from a business standpoint, it's also a very important economic issue in our state. By 2018 in the United States, we're going to have a need for more than 230,000 jobs with STEM training, science, technology, engineering, and math. And there aren't enough people to fill those jobs. As Val indicated, these positions are not taking jobs away from others, unskilled workers. These are jobs that need to be filled that are going wanting. But I find it very interesting that 76%, or 3 out of every 4 patents in the United States, were filed for and invented by foreign students in our top 10 research universities in America. That's an astounding number. One of the other things that I think is important on this issue is that we know in Utah we'll have the exact same demands as the country has in terms of the training of this type of worker. we know in education that tuition does not cover the cost of all of the education. We have students coming here on student visas, getting educations. Yes, they're paying non-resident fees, but the states subsidize that education. And then after their student visa expires, we send them home. There are a lot of countries around the world that retain 60 or 70% of these workers and give them green cards so that they can stay and work. In the United States, we keep 7%. So in other words, we educate them, we pay for part of their education, we send them home to compete with us. That doesn't make a lot of economic sense. And then the other thing that Val had indicated that I think is very important, they don't take jobs, they create jobs with all of the technology that they're inventing. It's very important that we fill these gaps and that we fill these jobs and that we do something to accommodate these workers, to keep them here, to help us build jobs and build the economy, not take away from us. And I add my voice to what Lane said. I strongly urge Congress and also Senator Hatch and Senator Lee to give consideration of this. We need change. I know President Reagan tried to change it, President Clinton tried to change it, President Bush tried to change it. It's about time we make a change. Thank you.
And good morning. I'm Jim Smith with the Davis Chamber of Commerce. And I'm glad Stan brought this up because we really want you to feel the uniformity that we have as we work together on what we think is one of our most critical issues right now. This broken immigration system that's allowed 11 million undocumented immigrants to come into what we've created is kind of a black market for them. And not only that, but it's discouraged millions of bright and energetic, hardworking, high-performing young people. We've discouraged them from staying here, has been said. What we would like to see and encourage from our Congress representatives is a modern immigration system that will bring these people out of that black market and into a legal economy so they can begin supporting the economy that you and I work on. They're paying taxes, attaining better education, and contributing to what it is we all want to accomplish in our world, in promoting the economy that leads to a brighter future. Now, we're not unaware of the fact that we're asking a very difficult challenge, political challenge, and yet the words we use in the press release are tough, fair, and practical roadmap. That's not an easy thing in what has become a divisive issue. But just because it's not easy is no excuse for us to ignore it and keep kicking that can down the road. So we strongly encourage our representatives to get involved, get the dialogue going, and come up with that tough and practical and fair roadmap. We understand that it will include securing the borders, and we understand that it'll address visa overstays, but we encourage them to get involved and join with us in feeling the urgency on this immigration reform issue. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dave Hardman from the Ogden-Weber Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to add on to some of the things that Jim brought up. That is the gorilla in the room. We have over 11 million people in our country that are undocumented. Many of these people are working hard, trying to raise families, and in some ways even paying taxes. We believe it's very important that we establish a path, a legal path, a status for undocumented immigrants currently living in the United States, including registration with the federal government, having current employment, learning education or learning English, paying taxes, and following all the laws. We think that this working designation should provide them an eventual opportunity to stay and be documented in the United States, but not to circumvent those individuals who have worked many years as legal immigrants coming into the United States, earning their citizenship. So both processes should be developed and streamlined, but not to circumvent that which those are doing legally. We also feel it's very important that undocumented immigrants who are not productive and employed and who are involved in any kind of illegal activity, including drugs and other types of crime, should be identified, and when they are apprehended and booked, should be deported through legal means. That there should be established some better processes through the federal government, state law, and state and local law enforcement so that this process can take place effectively. We cannot think that we can deport 11 million people without causing humanitarian disaster. This is not plausible, so we must find an appropriate way to integrate these wonderful people who are mostly law-abiding, employed, and working hard, raising their families to stay in our country and be productive and pay taxes as we do. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Bill Malone, and I'm with the Park City Chamber of Commerce. One of the interesting things that I've noticed here is that we all represent different communities. We have different facets in terms of our economies and how they are different. In my case, in our community, the immigration issue is a large issue, and a lot of it has to do in terms of with our industry as it relates to a hospitality industry as well, and the seasonality of our business. Couple of points that I'd like to make is that, many of our employers in the hotel and the resort industry in our community are forced to run at less than efficient manners. And a lot of that has to do with the inconsistency in terms of the visa process and how many employees they can attract. We have many people who work in our community who are from other parts of the world as it relates to Southern Hemisphere ski resorts. And many of those people work in those Southern Hemisphere ski resorts in the which is our summer and their winter, and flip-flop back and forth. The opportunity to tap into this expertise and these skills is one that we have a lot of uncertainty about because of the number of applications that are available on an annual basis. I think another couple of things that what we should be addressing as it relates to our system is that a modern system should ensure that immigration laws are easy to understand by our employers, are easy to navigate, and easy to implement. In a modern system, I think that obtaining a visa to come to work shouldn't cost hundreds or thousands of dollars in order to do it, or involve a complicated and painful bureaucratic process. Basically, what we do is we're asking if Congress would not delay and to act on looking at immigration issues this year. Thank you.
Morning. My name is Sandy Emile. I'm with the Cache Chamber of Commerce in Logan, Utah. It's a pleasure to be here with all of my esteemed colleagues from chambers around our state, but really I think we're speaking for chambers across our country. The issues are strong, they are grave, they have great impact on our country from many aspects, as you've heard. But one you haven't heard from yet is our agricultural industries. Obviously, our agricultural industries are basically held hostage due to immigration reform issues that have not been addressed accurately. I commend our legislators. I know they're working hard on the issue, but we're asking that they work a little harder and work a little faster. We have crops that are rotting in fields. We have meat packing plants that are not working at full steam. They're on half schedules. We have dairy plants that are not producing the produce they need. It's not just for my little county in Cache in northern Utah. It's for our state, it's for our nation, and it's for the world. This is an industry that is not going away. The United States is actually responsible for feeding a greater source of population across this world globally than any other country. And we need resources, and the greatest resource we need is not land, it's not water, it's not seed, it's workers. And we need these workers to be here legally, and we are begging and asking and pleading that there be some reform for visas so that workers can come to our country, work, help us grow and produce to support basically a global economy. It's something that we need, and we know that we can achieve it if we all work together. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. You know, one of the great opportunities that all of us have is that we get to work for an industry that expects one thing, and that is results. We represent the business community, and our jobs are to make sure things happen. Businesses are in business for one reason, to get results. We actually believe that Congress is supposed to do one thing, get results. We need results. This is an issue that has gone on well beyond what it should have been. And to collectively to have the businesses of the entire state of Utah, an economy that is robust and growing, economy that has a great vision and a great future, a great opportunity for us to strengthen our education because of the job market, to prepare us, and then to have the United States Congress fail to respond to what needs to happen is very concerning to us. We do again call upon Congress to step forward now, not into the future, not to slow the process down, but to get it done. And if we can do it, so can they.